Hi and welcome. My name is Welly Siauw. I'm a partner solution architect here at AWS. I'm based in Seattle. Thank you for joining today's sessions. The theme of today is maximizing cloud efficiency, balancing the agility and governance with AWS Control Tower and with AWS Cloud Control API. I'll talk about how to achieve both the agility and governance and why it is important for you in order to maximize the value of the cloud. There's more and more companies coming and using AWS and cloud computing. They love the idea of having a faster innovations up and running within minutes and using managed services to really focus on those innovations. Leveraging pay-as-you-go models with the flexible pricing options and shifting from heavy capital expense at the front into an operational expense and reducing the costs along the way. With elasticity on the cloud, you only pay for what you need. You can scale up and down to meet the business needs. And upcoming serverless technology, it's really inciting a lot of customers and users like you, where you no longer have to maintain the server overheads and really focusing on building your products rather than maintaining server and infrastructures. With AWS, you can have a global reach within a minute. You have the same exact infrastructures and security controls wherever you decided to deploy, whether in US or on different regions. Customers also really appreciate the secure by default and technology and services that offered by AWS, leveraging the tools that's available for you to protect your data and also your privacy. As I said, essentially what you want to do is deliver the new business to your customers, and you want to do that faster. You want to have your team to be doing more innovations, having a better and greater agility, and you want to do that with control. You want to equip your team to leverage and maximize the value of the cloud. And there are a couple activities that you have to do in spite of that as well. First, you want to ensure that you can increase the productivity and allow the team to choose the right services and the tools for their work, whether that is containers, whether that is serverless, data lake, machine learning, or IoT. And you want to have that systems to be available and service and feature to be available for them, where it can be automated with self-service. Infrastructure as code tools such as Terraform, for example, help to reduce the error and any manual repetitive for tasks such as deploying and provisioning these infrastructures and allow you to focus on the higher value and the innovations. And whilst you're doing that, you want to bring the security and compliance as part of your day zero job. Codify this into every fabrics of what your team does. You want to leverage tools and services such as encryptions, guardrails, patching, vulnerability assessments, WAF, and many more. And the idea in here is to reduce the risks of any security incidents and leveraging the existing control to achieve the compliance. In doing so, you want to bring those best practice and make it part of the team culture, leveraging what AWS learned from working with many large enterprise and involving that best practice. You know, build this blueprint and then provide this consistent experience that can be codified with best practice that is self-service. And this is what we typically call the landing zone. This is your landing zone where as you're shifting and moving to the cloud, this is typically the first thing that come up and needs to be prepared in order for you to have a successful operation in the cloud. And this is where you should invest first. Now, what we heard from the customers is that there are many AWS services and features that can really help you to manage and govern your cloud environments. But customer want to focus on what is your business. And same thing with you. You don't want to focus on building these landing zones from the existing building blocks and kind of piecing out together. And we hear that from the customers. And that's why we introduced an AWS Control Tower. AWS Control Tower is a service that's often the easiest way for organizations such as you to set up and govern their AWS environment at scale. So with Control Tower, you can enable and provision and also operate your environment with both the business agility and also the governance at scale. The goal of Control Tower is to help you build and operate your landing zone. So using the best practice that is provided as a managed service. Control Tower provisions a well-architected landing zone in your multi-account AWS environment And it comes enabled with the built-in guardrails that you can customize. So you can onboard a new team, a new product to AWS within minutes by provisioning a new account with built-in infrastructures and guardrails to ensure you have the best practice governance from the day one. So it means like less time waiting for the new accounts to be configured, less people has to be involved in securing those accounts manually, and before any workload or application can be put right there. And it also means more time to spend on building a product. So what is that ideal governance from Control Tower perspective? It's all started with the landing zone, which I mentioned earlier, is the mechanism for you to deploy and provision and manage account at scale. And while deploying the account itself is not enough, you also want to include a guardrails that will be part of that account provisioning. And that's including guardrail to prevent any changes to the best practice, prevent any changes to the log archival process, ensuring the data is encrypted properly, for example. And ideally, this landing zone should automate the account provisioning by applying this best practice, including the guardrail itself, and also integrate with the centralized identity to access the accounts. And this governance run continuously, inspecting all resources and ensure that it complies with the guardrails. Now, with these building blocks available out of the box, you can start to shift the focus on operating the landing zones. And let's see what those activity looks like. There are four aspects of this. First, you want to monitor and get visibility of how your resources and the application are being used and how they are performing, whether that is through observability or through some cost optimizations. And you want to make sure that is it also auditable, everything from how those resources are configured to which resources or users that are accessing those resources and what are policies that have been enforced. And you also want to take operational actions, whether that is to manage them at scale, doing a logical groupings, and automate operation attacks safely and securely also at scale. And then you continue to optimize and analyze it. Find a way to reduce costs, find a way to improve the efficiency and security posture. This is what your team should focus on, finding a way to maximize the values, identify non-compliant resources, and also to reduce the risks. And what we hear is that customer wants more than just the control tower itself. Control tower is typically the starting points, and customer typically have other use case and tools and services. That's including AWS services and also partner products that they want to integrate to their multi-account environments. And they don't want to do this manually. Perform this integration one-off for each of these services and also this partner solution, for example. And this use case varies from observability and monitoring, operation automations, CM tool, cloud security and posture management, security and compliance control, identity management, network operations and management, cost optimizations, cost monitoring and management, data solutions, and there's many more. Where infrastructure as tool code such as HashiCorp Terraform is very well suited to help you to automate these integrations. By using modules and providers, you can integrate these solutions and customizations into your control tower landing zone. You can enforce best practice as you integrate these components by using, say, a Terraform Sentinel policy. And you can ensure like a least privileged access, grant appropriate permissions for each of the teams to control what part of the customization that they are belong to, whether that is network or that's just the identity, for example. Terraform provides this rich role-based access control to help you to really build this least privileged access to manage the team and the types of access that they need. And the top customer request that we hear is that to automate these deployments and management of their control tower environments and also other solutions and customizations through a Terraform-based infrastructure as code pipelines. So I'm very excited to share with you today with the new Terraform-based account provisioning pipelines, the AWS Control Tower Account Factory for Terraform. which just recently went GA at reInvent 2021. AFT, or Account Factory for Terraform, is designed to provide customers with the ability to use Control Tower governance, but also have the advantages of Terraform-based account provisioning pipelines. So AFT supports fully featured Terraform Cloud, Terraform Enterprise, and also open source. Using TFT, you drive full life cycle of account creations, and also the ability for you to customize whether a new or existing accounts, all within the Terraform tool. Account creation itself include cloud control governance benefit, so you can plug in customizations to meet your organization standard. AWS collaborate with HashiCorp to develop and provide this solution, which is means that it's also managed by the AWS Control Tower team. Now let's have a look at how we could utilize these services and solutions to build a positive feedback loop into your cloud operations. We all start with this account factory, a way for you to automate the new growth, adding a new accounts, onboarding a new teams as they need to start their journey in AWS. And you want to provide the blueprints and guardrails that's automatically configured, whether that is preventative and detective guardrails from Control Tower, but also optimizations that have been codified in the blueprints, such as a Terraform template for right-sizing the compute, auto-scale, auto-shutdown, and etc. And then you use Sentinel to apply this best practice, perform soft and hard checks before this infrastructure provisioning takes place. You could estimate the cost, selection of the compute and storage size, check for any highly permissive IAM permission, for example, missing tags that you need for your cost analysis, for example. And then you can deploy securely with the Terraform. Using Terraform Cloud or Terraform Enterprise, you can also store your environment state and also the credentials securely and manage access using role-based access control. As you're doing this, essentially the focus of the attention move from manual work of managing this landing zone and account factory into the center of excellence. And this team continue to grow and they perform a higher level functions where they can come up with the new recommendations, whether that is a new compute type, a new services, a new best practice, a new guardrails, for example. And they will be empowered to develop these optimization actions and codify it through a tool such as Terraform, and then feed it back into the ecosystems through these blueprints and customization guardrails. So this is the complete flywheel with a foundations of using Control Tower and automation provided by the Account Factory for Terraform or AFT. You utilize Terraform features such as Sentinel, RBAC to apply the best practice and shifting your team focus to higher value activities and to maximize the benefit of the cloud for your organization. Now that we discuss on how your organization can successfully balance the governance and the agility, you will start to see increase in momentum and also the agility of the organizations. Build process that typically happens weekly will happens daily and hourly. New account requests, for example, that typically takes weeks or days, now takes a couple minutes to complete. Customization is now built in instead of a lot of manual works and a lot of manual interventions. This means like velocity will increase. Your team will want to move faster, consuming new AWS services and also feature to optimize their workloads. In the next section, I want to share an idea on how HashiCorp and AWS continue to innovate on behalf of our customers and bring new services and features to you faster. So first, as your organization matures in your cloud operations, you're moving from building and constructing landing zone into operating an efficient landing zone and cloud operations. That also means like you want to accelerate your pace of innovations and time to market, which is essentially what you need to do. This is where you should focus your effort. You build and run your cloud infrastructure using infrastructure as code tools such as Terraform. You want to ensure when AWS launches a new services and feature, you could codify that immediately into your Terraform configurations. When there's a delay for such supports, then you have to wait until those features and services are supported in Terraform. And we hear from customers who wants to use Terraform and be able to utilize these new features and services closer to the day of launch. As you're aware, AWS continue to innovate on behalf of the customers to help you unlock new capabilities in the cloud. Today, we support 200 fully featured services, and in 2022 launch, we have more than 2,700 of significant new feature launches. And we hear from the AWS customer partners who want to stay in sync with AWS pace of innovations. And we learned that it can take weeks to integrate with new of the AWS capability and services. So we will find the solutions to enable you to stay up to date with the latest AWS innovations without undifferentiated heavy lifting. And finally, we also recognize there's an opportunity here to standardize API that interact with a lot of all AWS features and services. As you build your services and you build your product in AWS, your applications start to become more increasingly sophisticated. You start to work across multiple AWS services and also third-party services, whether that is containers, machine learning, data lake, IoT, and etc. And each of these services has a distinct API that the builder has to familiarize with themselves with. These API are very descriptive and intuitive, but some builders prefer a consistent set of APIs to manage cloud resources across various services. And these builders who prefer this consistent set of APIs, they want to minimize authoring and maintaining custom code to interface with underlying services that are part of your application infrastructures. So we'll see how, there's an opportunity in here to offer a standard API to interact with hundreds of AWS services and also third-party services. A couple months ago, we introduced Cloud Control API. Cloud Control API is essentially a set of common APIs that is designed to make it easy for developers and builders like you to manage the cloud infrastructure consistently and also to leverage the latest AWS capability faster, typically on the day of launch. It introduced a set of common API to manage end-to-end lifecycle of AWS resources. So using a single setup, create, read, update, delete, and list, you can manage all supported resources, including new resources in the future. Cloud Control API is aimed to solve that challenges that I mentioned earlier. Cloud Control API bring faster access to the new feature and services. Cloud Control API use CloudFormation registry to expose resource built by AWS service team and also the third-party team. And for the new AWS service and feature, these resources are typically available on the day of launch or shortly afterwards. With the unified interface, you can do one-time integrations, which helps to enable customers to keep up to date with the phase of AWS innovation. Our partners such as HashiCorp can build unique API code base using unified API verbs, common input parameters, and predictable response. This one-time integration itself, you can potentially save hundreds of hours of annual recurring development effort. And this consistent API is designed to make it easy to manage your cloud infrastructure consistently. You can use the same API to manage them end-to-end. So how does you can leverage this benefit? How you can tap into Cloud Control API and get this potential to use using the tool that you're already familiar with, such as a Terraform. AWS collaborate with HashiCorp to build AWS Cloud Control Provider. So this is a new provider that is aimed to provide you access to the new AWS feature and service, typically within the day of launch. So let's explore how this new provider can help you address the problem that I mentioned earlier. As you see on the base, you have the broad services and deep functionality that AWS built and offer. Service team built these resources that are then onboarded to the CloudFormation public registry. Cloud Control API externalized this resource provider built by the AWS service team and allow Terraform to integrate with. because Cloud Control API provides this abstraction layer for this interaction with the AWS Service APIs, Terraform is able to automatically generate and the code base for AWS Cloud Control Terraform provider. So generating these providers allow Terraform to provide a new resources faster because it doesn't have to write the boilerplate and the standard resource implementation for each of these new services. So the maintainers of the cloud control provider can instead focus on the user experience, upgrades, and performance improvement as well. And then Terraform practitioner, contributors, and other partners can also use Terraform Cloud Provider just like any other providers and get faster access to a new feature and services that AWS launched. So what this means is that there's no more manual work is required to add new feature or new services to the providers. And a user can expect the use of new AWS services within day of the launch, rather than have to potentially wait for that support to be available. Now, I want to wrap up these discussions with 3 key ideas that we discussed so far. How you can maximize the potential of cloud is the main theme. And the main theme to that is to bring the agility and the governance and make it work together. First, you want to empower your team to do what is right for your customers. Enables them to build and innovate with broad AWS services and deep functionality that AWS offers. And then you want to bring the governance that is easy to manage using tools that you're already familiar, such as Terraform. And you want to establish that landing zone and account factory. Bring the blueprints, guardrails, and the best practice, and make it part of that automated pipelines. And lastly, you want to enable your team to gain faster access to the new AWS innovations. And you want to do that while still being able to use standard tools such as Terraform. AWS Cloud Control providers for Terraform can bring you that faster access and help you bring a new product faster to the market. That is the end of my presentations. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you find this insightful. I'd love to hear your feedback and also answer any questions that you have. Thanks again and enjoy this virtual roadshow, maximizing cloud efficiency, balancing the agility and governance with AWS Control Tower and AWS Cloud Control API. All right, thank you everyone who's joining. I hope you enjoying the session so far, and then this virtual roadshow as well. Again, my name is Welly Siauw. I'm here to answer any questions that you have. So feel free to add your questions, and then we'll recap the questions and answer it as well. All right. One of the questions that come up is about the Cloud Control API or the Cloud Control providers. And the question was, are there full support for all of the resources in the Cloud Control provider today? The answer to that is we are still working on it. As is today, all of the new types of resources, including new features that's been launched at the reInvents, that will have a mandate to be fully supported by the Cloud Control API. It means that it takes probably like a day or two for Terraform to pull those resources and build the resources. And typically that's like a weekly releases that the cloud control provider does. For the existing resources, we are working with all of the service team today in order to bring that compatibility and then bring the parity for those resources to be fully supported. If you have any particular types of resources or types of coverage that you need, please let us know. Contact your AWS account teams or contact your HashiCorp account team as well, so we can try to help to prioritize the support for those resources. It's a good question. Thank you. All right. The other questions that come up is about the AFT or the account factory for Terraform. The question in here is that, can I use AFT on my existing AWS organizations or my existing control tower? And the answer to that is yes. The AFT is designed so that you can use it on your existing AWS control tower and also on the brand new AWS control tower. The prerequisite for you to implement AFT is still to have your AWS organizations or your AWS control tower set up first on your pair. And then from there on, you can go through the prerequisites to complete the AFT setup. And that's include creating a new accounts as part of the management of the AFT and also to add the customizations. There's also questions in here about the support for an existing account that has been provisioned before the AFT by Control Tower. And as of today, we're still working on the support for importing the existing account to the AFT. Today, AFT only support net new accounts that you provisions through this account factory. So if you have a use case like that, again, we're always working backwards from our customers. So feel free to inform your account teams and also the HashiCorp rep or your account team as well. So we can try to look at what specific use case that you have for that, like importing the existing account. All right, another questions come up in here on the Cloud Control API for Terraform. Are there any specific like API rate limits or any specific like a throttle that the Cloud Control does? Basically, it depends on service to service, of course. Cloud Control API interact with the backend services itself, so it's still subject to those types of limits that the backend services is providing those limits. For example, whether that's EC2 or whether that is S3 itself. On top of that, the Cloud Control API also provides you with some of these common error or common types of messages that you typically get from the backend services. So you can rely on having those standard response that's available for you as part of the like interactions that you have with the Cloud Control API. All right, let's see if there's any more question. Yep, for any other live audience, feel free if you have any other questions as well. Okay, so last call out from me. If there's no more questions, you can always check AWS documentations and also HashiCorp blog to look at the AFT solutions for account factory for Terraforms. And same thing with the Cloud Control API. You can take a look at the AWS documentation. Just Google for Cloud Control API and Terraform. You definitely will find it. HashiCorp also have a a great learn tutorial about AWS Cloud Control API and how you can use this provider alongside with the existing provider as well. If there is no more questions, we'll wrap up the session for today. Thank you again for participating on today's sessions. I hope you find it useful, and then I hope we see you again on the next sessions. Thank you.